level with you guys. It's been a long week. It's been a long day. We just had a long Rampage. It's just after midnight as I'm talking to you guys right now, and I don't have a co-host. This can only go well. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz, Phoenix, the YWC Rally Check here with your September 24th AEW Rampage Grand Slam Super Show at the Arthur Ashe Stadium review. How you guys doing? Once again, 50-50 whether I was going to be doing this by myself or with Guapo, but Guapo's got real adult stuff to do, so he's tired. He's gone off to bed, and Jake is still dealing with his stuff as well, or I might have grabbed him, but either way, it's midnight, and big shout out to Jake, shout out to Guapo. We'll probably get him back on next week, and we will carry on. You guys will be stuck with just me for the night. Sorry, and those of you that are watching on YouTube actually have to see the pretty sexy face and the hat that is not the gimmick hat, because I can't find the gimmick hat. It's already going well, isn't it? Rampage, Grand Slam. Let's talk about Arthur Ashe Stadium. Let's talk about the same thing that we talked about on Wednesday when we did have Guapo, when I did have a co-host. Just big shout out, huge tip of the cap to AEW for making Arthur Ashe Stadium feel amazing, feel huge. This was taped and it didn't feel taped. I had exactly one spoiler for this show, and it didn't ruin the show for me at all. If anything, it gave me something to look forward to within the show. Now, I will say, with a caveat, moving forward with Rampage, they do have to take into account the more... Oh, this is going to make me sound like a dick. It's going to make me sound like I don't want AEW to succeed, and I do. The danger of getting bigger and bigger and bigger crowds, like you had for the CM Punk announcement, like you had here at Arthur Ashe, because it was like 20,000 something people. For the most part, you don't get too many spoilers for Rampage when they do a pre-taped episode. But here's the deal. The sheer numbers are eventually going to kick you in the ass. If you put 20,000 people instead of 5,000 people in the arena, that means there's 20,000 cameras instead of 5,000 cameras, taking pictures, writing tweets, giving spoilers, giving updates, etc., etc., etc. I really hope that they don't continue with the taping Rampage, either before or after Dynamite, because when things open up here, and I'm not going to go too much into the COVID thing because that's a whole other spiel I could go off onto, but when things are up and available enough up here in Canada, in the GTA, in Ontario, wherever you want to pinpoint me, I want to have an AEW week. Like, if they come and they sell a package of tickets, I want to go on Wednesday knowing that I'm coming back on Friday, and if there's an associated pay-per-view, knowing that I'm coming back again either Saturday or Sunday. So it's not a criticism per se, it's just, they're growing, as I'm sure they want to grow. The more you grow, the more eyes are on your product, the more eyes are revealing the stuff you don't really want to see on TV just yet. So the fact, actually, that spoilers are as much of a non-issue as they are right now is kind of astonishing, because we all know what happens, and the prime example is when WWE goes to the UK and their show happens at like 4 o'clock our time or something like that, and you get all the spoilers, and then you find out literally 3 hours later how it was, because then it runs in normal time here. And it's funny because the conversation, especially on social media, is far more rampant about AEW than there is about WWE, but yet there's less spoilers. It's very strange. I have to look hard, and I know they were taping and then not taping and then taping and then not taping for NXT, but I didn't see spoilers unless I looked. But as AEW becomes the bigger conversation, it's something that they're going to have to look into. Now, when they're putting together their YouTube shows, when they're putting together, why is the light doing its thing already? Like, why? It's late in the day. Could you just not? Where was I going with that? Oh, the YouTube shows. The YouTube shows are the YouTube shows. The YouTube shows are basically house shows, low to mid-card, extra content. So that stuff being spoiled isn't really a thing. As you guys know, and I've been making it the joke for several weeks now, I don't watch Dark, I don't watch Dark Elevation, I don't agree with a wrestling company that gives you homework, but I know that there are some people that do, and I know there are some people that will constantly say, oh yeah, there's one or two things worth looking at on Dark and Dark Elevation occasionally. Now, if you take one or two things worth looking at and expand that into a whole show worth looking at, like Dynamite, like Rampage, then I might give it a look. But right now, it's annoying enough that I have to wait for the free streams of Impact to watch Impact, and we're going to talk about Impact in a bit as well. Let's get into the show, though. We started off with Punk and Hobbs, and we continue. And I mean, you had to put the lights out match last. I get that. And to a certain extent, a match like that needs to be in the main event. But CM Punk is one of your three biggest, newest names. So putting him in the first match sort of perpetuates my theory that I've talked about for a couple of weeks, that stuff that very much could have ended up in the main event ends up being the first match, especially on Rampage. I know there's the coveted first match on Dynamite where it's just the match that you think is going to be the most insane. Ideally, it's the whatever the Young Bucks are doing that week, because they get a long stretch of time and there's no commercial break and whatever. And then your main event is whatever your main event is. But Punk being the curtain jerker is kind of cool and kind of not at the same time. I mean, he put over the opening match on Dynamite in his promo when he was talking about this match with Hobbs tonight. I will say, going back to Dynamite, putting Danielson, I guess, Danielson versus Omega in the opening spot on Dynamite was a hell of a flex. And again, shout out to AEW for that. I have all the energy to spend right now giving AEW as much credit as I can, because WWE, I'm not going to shit on them, but they're not giving me anything to be excited about. I'm going to come up to you guys sometime in the next day or so and try to do a preview for Extreme Rules, and it's probably going to be shorter than this review is tonight. Anyways, Hobbs is down there. He's facing Punk, and he's got Hook at ringside. The graphic that they showed on Wednesday showed Hook actually in wrestling gear, and he wasn't in wrestling gear, so I was ready to laugh at that, and that didn't happen. But also you got Taz and Starks on commentary as well. Taz and Stark, you got two heel commentators throughout the whole show, and then three once Don Callis got into the mix. It was a little heavy, and considering that there was no Jericho on commentary, and considering Excalibur had to sort of right the ship on commentary was a little janky this week, I'm not gonna lie. They told a really interesting story here, because, and I'm going to be saying this throughout the night because I focused a lot more on the stories in my notes than I did on the matches themselves, so if you guys are into that, then cool. If not, maybe this isn't the video for you. It would be very easy for looking at somebody like a CM Punk, looking at somebody like a Powerhouse Hobbs, to do the power versus speed story, or to do the experience versus youthful exuberance, for lack of a better term. So, but what they didn't. But what they did was, like, tell this story of, like, a really flailing approach and a really specific approach. Hobbs, being the bigger guy, being the power guy, just has to keep hitting you, whether it's a clothesline, whether it's a power bomb, whether he's dropping you, whether he's dropping on you. He just has to keep steamrolling you. And I think Taz on commentary called it being trucked, which means at some point or another, some big powerhouse in AEW is going to have a finisher called the Go Truck Yourself, which I'm totally okay with. Now, that was but that was beating up the whole body, that was squishing him in the corner, that was hitting him with slams, that was throwing him around the ring, that was dropping on him at some point with his larger frame, etc. It was a sort of a scatter shot kind of offense, whereas Punk, from minute 1 to minute just about end, was very specific, very precise, working the leg. He had one very specific goal, and yes, you could say that that could tie into a experience versus youth story, but I thought it was much more interesting in this one to sort of say, like, here's this guy doing whatever he can, and here's this guy that's got a very specific plan. It was also very cool to see CM Punk pull off the Savage Elbow, which was really good. I thought they were going to pull out the Anaconda Vice for this match. They didn't. There was a top rope brawl, and I don't mention this to criticize people either. When I talk about botches, or I talk about moments where, you know, it looks like somebody could have really fucked up, I only mention it from the perspective of, hey, that looked kind of ugly. I hope they're okay. There was a top rope Rana by CM Punk coming out of a failed top rope powerbomb attempt, and he just fell a bit to the side and looked like he spiked his head a little bit. Powerhouse Hobbs I'm talking about. And the match did come to a halt for a second, so you could tell that there was a little bit of, okay, are we good? Are we good? Okay, let's keep going. There was a heel miscommunication towards the end. Hook tried to get involved. Powerhouse Hobbs almost slammed into him, walked into a GTS, and Punk gets the win. Now, on the one hand, it's just, you could look at it as, okay, Punk's the new guy in the company, they're giving him a bunch of wins. But I don't think that's the case. Powerhouse Hobbs didn't fall strictly to CM Punk. He fell because Team Taz outthought themselves. Hook tried to get involved. The involvement of Hook in these matches is gonna start coming off as really, really displaced if we don't at least see him have a match. I don't care who it's against. Let him have an exhibition match against Marco Stunt. I don't care. But, like, other than being Taz's son, he's just a guy out there and looks like he could be flattened by paper. And that doesn't even make any sense. But it's the miscommunication of that ultimately cost Hobbs the match. There were plenty of times in this match where Punk was making him look like $1 million, selling for him and making him look like he was really in charge. But we know the bigger story is him. I mean, he's not going to have a match with Taz. That would be awesome, but it's not the world we live in. The big story here is, like, Hobbs being the stepping stone, being the proving block towards maybe going up against Ricky Starks. I think it would be kind of a kick in the nuts to Taz if they put the FTW title on Punk for a while and then just, you know, they maul him and they get it back in some other way, or Taz comes out and says, well, this undeserving guy is carrying the belt now, so I'm officially retiring it because it's my belt anyway. So it was the necessary first step. Powerhouse Hobbs doesn't lose anything by losing this match. He lost to fucking CM Punk. Darby Allin's fine. Powerhouse Hobbs is also fine. The next match, another one that could have been in the main event. Yeah, I mean, the whole show. I mean, other than... Okay, we're going to get to it when we get to it. Most of the matches on this show, or at least 3 of them, could have been the main event tonight. You had the SUPERKLIQ versus Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Christian. And again, we look at the stories. It wouldn't have mattered who was across the ring. It really wouldn't, especially for people that have followed ROH or New Japan or any of these guys before AEW was formed and know the background way better than I do. This is why I need people like Jake. This is why I need people like Guapo to fill in these gaps that I just don't have. But the story is the reuniting of Adam Cole with the rest of the Elite. It doesn't matter who they're against. We're here. And in order to make a statement that we're here, there has to be some bodies on the other side of the ring. Now, that's not an insult to the guys across the ring, because they've all got stuff going on as well. I look at Christian, and the way he's dividing his time right now, he's over on Impact. He's still the Impact champion. At Victory Road, they set the main event for Bound for Glory, and the main event for Bound for Glory is Christian Cage versus current X Division champion, current Destiny champion, check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list, the walking weapon, Josh Alexander. So I'm sorry, as much as I like Christian and as much as I like Christian being in AEW and being in the mix there, for the next little while until we get to Bound for Glory, I'm going to be thinking, okay, this is kind of what Christian's doing till he gets his match against Josh Alexander, because a week later, at Raising Hell, here in Mississauga, I could be looking across the ring at Josh Alexander, our Destiny champion, and new Impact World Champion as well. And that will be really cool for me because he's defending the Destiny Championship against Luke Gallows. We can talk about that at another time. I look at the Jurassic Express as well, and I mean, either as a team or at least Jungle Boy as a singles guy, these guys have got to get pushed again. They're a fun... There's a couple of people right now, with all the new people that have come in, and I think Jungle Boy's fallen victim to this a little bit, and I think Jurassic Express as a group have fallen victim to this a little bit as of late, they seem like guys that are floating around that are fun to have around. And they deserve to be more. They deserve to be back in the tag team title mix, or Jungle Boy maybe deserves to be in the conversation for the TNT Championship. Currently, that's Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara, Miro, we're going to talk about later. But also, I said it 2 nights ago, Jungle Boy has got to be a first ballot pick for that Owen Hart Memorial Tournament Cup thing that they've got coming up. So work on pushing these guys back up to where they were a little while ago before you brought in all these headliners. It would be a nice little thing. Now, that leaves me with Luchasaurus, and Luchasaurus had one of the coolest spots in this match. Now, saying that, look at the other people in the ring. You got Adam Cole, you got the Young Bucks, you got Jungle Boy, and Christian holding up his end of the bargain as well. One of the coolest things that I saw, there was a consecutive succession of cool choke slams from Luchasaurus, because he grabbed Adam Cole and he grabbed one of the Bucks. I couldn't tell you which one because my notes are not that detailed and it's tired in here. But basically, he grabbed Adam Cole by the throat and grabbed one of the Bucks by sort of the back of the neck type thing. And he looked like he was going to double chokeslam. And when all he really did was chokeslam Adam Cole and just hold the other guy and chokeslam Adam Cole onto him. So he basically did like a mid-air chokeslam sandwich, if that makes sense. Followed up by the third Young Buck trying to come off the top rope, him grabbing him by the throat while he was standing on the top rope, and sort of doing what I've never seen before, or at least if I have seen it, I've forgotten it. It was an overhead choke slam. Like he sort of brought him over into an arch, and I thought that was pretty fucking amazing. Now, that is 3 power moves in a row. And the real credit that I want to give to Luchasaurus is kind of the opposite of a WWE trope. Is WWE, Land of the Giants, until you get a Rey Mysterio, a Daniel Bryan, a CM Punk, an Adam Cole, etc., trying to match up with these guys and trying to show that he can hang with the big guys. Now, what you have here in AEW is kind of the opposite, because you got Luchasaurus, who's sort of like the giant among men in this particular match, but you've got Adam Cole, the Young Bucks, Jungle Boy, and all this, who are the faster, the high-flying, the dexterous, the flexible, the risk-taking guys, and you've got the big guy showing that he can fit in the other way, and Luchasaurus, as far as the big guys go, is the best at that, and I think that's really, really cool. Also, to finish everything off, Jungle Boy gets tossed off the rampway. Christian Cage gets tossed off the rampway. And then it's just 3-on-1 on Luchasaurus. I will say, another thing that looks really, really impressive is Adam Cole hitting the Panama Sunrise on Luchasaurus, followed by a BTE trigger, followed by a last shot. And I hope they haven't done the whole, like, cheesy, everything has to be renamed in wrestling. He hit the last shot on Luchasaurus, and they called it the Boom. That's really lame, if that's an actual thing. But, I mean, as far as the succession goes, Panama Sunrise into the BTE trigger, into the last shot, get the win for the SUPERKLIQ. But the win really isn't the point. We knew going into this that this was the introduction of the SUPERKLIQ and that they were going to win. And the bigger purpose of this was to eliminate the idea of Adam Cole being this brand new guy to the company and establish this idea that he's just rejoining his long lost friends. And it's already a thing. It's the best version of a DX reunion type of idea. And I think they did that really well, because the 3 of these guys, even though Adam Cole just, quote unquote, just stepped into the company, they were a better well-oiled machine than the other side. Because, yes, Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy are a tag team, but Christian is just the other guy that's along for the ride. Now, on a separate note, not having anything to do with this match, people are convinced that Christian Cage, after he loses the Impact Championship, is going to go heel, and he's going to turn heel on Jungle Boy. I don't want to see Christian Cage turn heel, because I think if he tries to turn heel and get a little bit, like, edgy, as most people do when they turn heel, I think he's going to come off a bit lame. The sort of serious when I need to be, but mostly a bit of an awkward Joker type guy, is going to come off really lame if he tries to pull it off as a heel. Just my opinion. I do want to see that match, though. Christian Cage versus Jungle Boy has a lot of potential narrative threads, especially if a couple more Canadians that I could name and have various names, and some of them are very generic, are coming along the pike as the rumors imply. I'd love to see all three members of the Jurassic Express versus like Christian Cage, Kevin Steen, and Sammy Generic. Wouldn't you? I would love to see that. I think specifically, if he's leaving WWE, Kevin Steen versus Luchasaurus is something I want to see. I don't even care. The Men of the Year versus Jericho and Hager. Let's be real once again. The Dan Lambert thing is getting super old. It really is. I liked it because it was mimicking the pot shots that I would take at AEW, but it was also AEW taking a person and caricaturizing all the things that caricaturizing, I'm not sure is a word. It's very, very tired in here. Personifying is a better word. Some of the things that I would say when I was more critical of AEW, they put that into a fictional character so that they can tell that character to fuck off. Much like Triple H back in the day with his puppet named Mark, who is smart. So basically you get somebody in your company to say the things that the fans you don't like are saying, and then you tell that guy to fuck off instead. The Dan Lambert thing's getting really old, is what I'm saying. I don't quite get why he was suddenly managing the Men of the Year. I don't get realistically targeting Jericho when your target, or at least the target of your promos, has been these young, new, alternative, flippy, high-flying guys. I mean, Jericho's not young, and he's not small, and God bless him for trying, but he ain't flipping as much as just about anybody else on the roster. He's not a Darby Allin, he's not a Rey Fenix, and I say that with respect for Jericho because I got a lot of respect for Jericho, but this was, again, like I said about the SUPERKLIQ, you've got a big show at the biggest stadium in front of the biggest audience you've ever had. This was an excuse to get Jericho on the card. And I'm not going to lie, I really do like the visual of Jake Hager basically being his Diesel. Because Jake Hager is terrifying. I mean, don't give him a microphone. Please don't give him a microphone. But Jake Hager's terrifying in the proper circumstances. You know it's not the proper circumstances? Men of the Year get the win, and an all-of-American top team come in to save Lambert. And yeah, some like 4-foot-tall looking boxer chick beats the hell out of Chris Jericho. Not a fan. Not a fan for a lot of reasons. The Hardy Family Office taking on Santana, Ortiz, and the Lucha Brothers. Starting off with the 4-man dive, 2 of them coming off of the turnbuckles and 2 of them doing suicide dives. The Lucha Brothers and Santana and Ortiz wanted to come out there and say, look, how cool is it that the 4 of us are teaming up? And once again, it really doesn't matter who's across the ring. We then get the focus of the match completely taken away because Matt Hardy's on this haircutting kick now. He went to cut one of Santana or Ortiz's hair. Orange Cassidy comes down to stop him from doing that. Jack Evans, who's on the outside, just sort of lingering. They get into a scrap, and Orange Cassidy takes him out, and Matt Hardy goes to the back. Matt Hardy goes to the back with Jack Evans during the match, demands interview time after the match is over, and leaves his people in there to get beaten. Fear Factor followed by a street sweeper, and the faces get the win. I don't know why this match exists. I don't know why a lot of this exists, but Private Party were cool, and the Hardy Family Office thing has kind of killed them. You guys know I've never really been a fan of the Butcher and the Blade. I don't know where Angelico is. Has Angelico left AEW? Because all I ever see is Jack Evans now. All this did, seeing how well they work together, I definitely want to see them fight against each other. I want to see a respectful, if it has to be that way, title shot offered by the Lucha Brothers to Santana and Ortiz, because this match happened because they were getting attacked by the Hardy Family Office, and Santana and Ortiz made the save. So you saved us, then you helped us as part of our team. Here's our thank you. You get a title shot. They're not going to pass off the titles that quickly, but I would love to see this match. I know from clips and I know from stuff that other people have showed me that Lucha Brothers, Santana and Ortiz, back when they were known as LAX, they had a hell of a rivalry in, I think, Impact, possibly ROH. Somebody correct me down in the box below. I wasn't there. I didn't see that. I would like to see that. I like all the people involved. I don't like anybody on the other team. We go to the back afterwards, and Hardy pushes and pushes, and he's tired of Orange Cassidy, and he challenges him to a hair versus hair match, but it's not with himself. He throws his guy under the bus. Jack Evans is going up against Orange Cassidy in a hair versus hair match, and I just don't care. Guys, anybody that's followed this channel for a long time, you guys know I've always been a fan of the Hardys. I've stuck up for the Hardys in the good times and the bad. I do not give a single flying fuck about the Hardy Boys right now. I can't do it. I am more interested in Jeff Hardy in a triple threat match on Sunday that I know he's not going to win than I am anything to do with Matt Hardy, anything to do with the Hardy family office, anything to do with anybody that they touch, including who we're going to talk about in a little bit. Sammy Guevara comes out to do his sign stuff. The stuff that he does during the picture-in-picture commercial break, but he's not doing it during the commercial break. He comes back and he's just out there with Fuego del Sol. He's doing the signs. You know, hey, it's about time a Spanish god was the TNT champion. And Miro sneaks up behind him and kicks the shit out of both of them, throws Fuego right off the stage, which was... I mean, Fuego's a test dummy at this point, isn't he? And then he puts Sammy Guevara in the game over. I did not need this. Last week's Rampage was enough to say, hey, next week I'm going to come for your title, and I'm going to be your next challenger, and whatever, and strap up Sammy Guevara and send him to the moon. Not even going to do the Cameron Grimes thing. Send him to the moon. I'm there for that. It's a pattern that I'm noticing recently, where they announce something that everybody wants to see, and they hype it up a little bit, and then when everybody's ready to see it, they, instead of giving it to them, they give it one more dose of hype that it doesn't need, or one more step on the ladder that it didn't need. And I'm just like, I don't know. I look at the company like, you've got us. You've got a match that we want. You've got our attention. We're waiting for the match to happen. You don't have to keep selling it. And yes, I know as a promotional company, you're supposed to promote yourself. Somebody could be watching for the first time this week. That's always the argument in pro wrestling. And trust me, I get that, but I'm speaking from the perspective of somebody that is watching every week, and you have to acknowledge that as well. It's why people that watch WWE every week are going to get sick of the rematches. If somebody's tuning in for the first time that week, they need to know why this match is happening, they need to know why the feud's happening, they need to tell the whole story all over again. Somebody who's been watching for the last 5 weeks and seen that same match 5 times doesn't need that forced exposition. Now, AEW doesn't do the rematches, but as far as the storytelling goes, I think they're walking a tightrope of doing a little bit of that. It was the same when I did a longer bit of commentary on what was going on with Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. Now, Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, that's all been stopped because Hangman Page has gone off to have a family and do all those happy fun things, and we're happy for them, and that's not the company's fault, that's not his fault, that's a great thing, we work around it. But before then, they were really walking the hard line difference between telling a great long-term story and just telling a story that's gone on for a long time. There's a huge difference, and one will suck the energy out of you, and one will suck you in, and you have to know the difference. This is a very, very small example of that. You've already got us on the hook for this title match between Sammy and Miro. You didn't need to crowbar in one more attack, especially with Fuego, who, like I say, is just a test dummy at this point, and that's fine. Something that wasn't so great, I'm not going to lie, is I like Anna Jay. I like the fire that Anna Jay's had since she's come back from her injury. And Penelope Ford is fine. I like Penelope Ford as a character. I think she's great. In the ring, there are better, especially now that you've got like your Britt Bakers, your Thunder Rosas, your Ruby Sohos, etc. Penelope Ford is good. Anna Jay is great, who's come back with fire and all that kind of thing. It's very, very exciting. There's way too much storytelling with the brass knucks, etc. I think they wanted to make this like a really scrappy brawl, and what ended up happening is it sort of came across like a 2005-ish Divas match, and that's not great, is it? Bunny comes down eventually, causes a series of distractions, tosses the knucks, Penelope gets the win. Post-match, there's a beatdown, 2-on-1 on Anna Jay. Obviously, Tay Conte comes down to make the save, but that doesn't really work because they both get knocked out with the brass knucks. And then the entire Hardy family office comes back out and surrounds the ring, and isn't this terrible and horrible? And whatever. To make the save, you've got Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander on the stage, and the commentators sort of spoil the punch before it's poured, and then, oh, well, that's not enough, people. And so you've got the baby faces are Anna Jay, Tay Conte, joined by Orange Cassidy, joined by Chris Statlander, joined by the entire rest of the Dark Order. And this is going to be a way too many people versus way too many people brawl at some point, even though there is an odd number of women now, and Chris Statlander should be, with all due respect to Anna Jay, Tay Conte, Penelope Ford, and the Bunny, Chris Statlander should be doing higher stuff than this. Like, she was in a title picture not that long ago. You can script her as something a little bit better than Orange Cassidy's arm candy. Now, I know there's some truth to that. I'm not taking anything away from that. I'm sure they want to do stuff together, but keep her at the level that you had her, because it was good, and she's really good, and she's really over. Yes, put her with Orange Cassidy, she's going to get even more over. I get it, but give her the credit that she was already pretty fucking over. I don't want to see any of this. The Hardy Family Office is draining the energy out of this show. The Dark Order still aren't getting along, so the nice feel-good, I would almost say the New Day of AEW is Dark Order. They come in with the, you know, the happy family-ish feeling, and everybody's having a bit of a good time, and everybody's a bit goofy. When they're arguing and bickering and whatever, and Anna Jay's basically babysitting them, they lose that entirely. So they're sucking the energy out of the show. If these two factions are going to go at it, I'm going to go eat a gun. Like, that's how that's going to go, because there's going to be so much I don't give a shit. And the thing is, we're going to get this ladies tag match next week, and it's going to be great, and then the guys are going to get involved, and that makes me sound like a feminist asshole, but, like, let the four ladies go. Stop the story with the brass knucks, because we had that thing the other week where one of them didn't know how to put the brass knucks on properly. That was terrible. Let the ladies have their tag match next week, and send all these boring ass ruined dudes to the back. I don't know. This was the I'm gonna say it. This, on a really, really awesome show, this was definitely the punctuated down point of the whole show. And the only thing keeping that up really is the returning energy from Anna Jay, and then the rest of it just got, like, sucked into oblivion. But then we went back up. We got Moxley and Kingston versus Archer and Suzuki, and they killed each other. Like, what do you want me to say? They did a really cool thing in the beginning with Moxley and Suzuki. Basically, they gave each other a chair. They fought on that ramp. I said it on Wednesday. I'll say it again. I do not like the rampways that are level with the ring. I think it's weird. I think it's awkward. Whatever. But for the two of them to just sort of position themselves on that rampway and have sort of like the chair joust, and then have Suzuki step into the ring with Kingston, and immediately go from the chair joust to a chop battle, and everybody's sort of got that evil, like, oh, we're gonna all kill each other smile on their faces. And I don't know what you call it, and I mean, I don't know enough about the Mick Foley-Terry Funk rivalry to make this comparison properly, so I won't. But it's these four guys that are going into this ring to kill each other, and they're smiling about it, and they're looking across the ring at somebody that wants to kill them, and they're smiling about that. And you, with every punch, with every slap that they give and receive, they're smiling. It's that, you know, enjoy the pain whether you're handing it out or taking it thing that's really, really cool. Coming off the commercial break, there was a hog tie spot with the duct tape, and this went on for a long time. This being a lights out match, I cannot help but compare it to the last lights out match we saw, which I think was the last lights out match we saw, the Baker and Thunder Rosa, because they did a couple of thumbtack spots in that match. And the comment that I had at the time, and I still hold true to it now, what made that so different was usually thumbtacks, or, you know, the broken glass or whatever you're going to fall in that's dangerous, happens towards the end of the match. So you do the spot, you get the shock and awe, there's a result, and you go on. The ladies in that match, Baker and Rosa, they did the thumbtack spots and then just continued having a match with thumbtacks in them, and that's a lot different. With this, with the hog tying spot, normally you would have, okay, somebody gets handcuffed, which means somebody else can get a really good shot in on them, and that's how they steal the victory. Moxley was duct tape handcuffed for quite a while, took a hell of an ass kicking. Kingston was taken out on the outside. I don't remember how, because it's very, very tired in here. And then he was saved, and he was freed from the duct tape, not by Kingston, but by the surprise appearance of Homicide, which I popped for huge, because that's the version of LAX that I remember from the time that I was watching TNA, in the before time, in the long, long ago, when it was Homicide and Hernandez. Now, I really, not to say anything against Homicide, I popped to see Homicide, like I say, I would have loved to see Hernandez jump into it. I mean, especially with the crossover with Impact, and it can definitely happen. I would have loved to see Hernandez get into this mix, because, in a big guy, small guy tag team, Homicide was the smaller guy, the faster guy, the more risk-taking guy. Hernandez was the muscle. He was the block. He was the blunt instrument. And here you had an entire match full of 4 blocks, 4 muscles, 4 blunt instruments, and I thought that would have been great. And I shouldn't say stuff like that. I shouldn't look at the surprise appearance we got and think, oh, this would have been better instead. But I mean, they were a tag team for a long time, so it's not that far stretched. Kingston just puts Archer to finish off the match, and I was sort of disappointed by this, and then I brought myself around to loving it by the time we went to credits. He put Archer in a trash can and just beat the living fuck out of him and the trash can until he stopped moving. It works. It's sort of not. It's not a cheap way to win. So the fact that they got Kingston to do it instead of Moxley keeps Moxley looking mint. They didn't bury Minoru Suzuki on his way out, because apparently he's going back to Japan. So that's kind of cool. Archer, out of all 4 of these guys, is the one that's kind of in the mud, booking wise, so this taking the pin here wouldn't exactly hurt him. I don't know if this means Homicide's going to do some stuff in AEW. Wow, Freudian slip there. I don't know whether it was just a one night thing because they were in New York and he's a New York guy. Either way, I'm fine. If it was a one shot appearance that made sense because of where they were, cool, awesome, and he's got ties to Kingston and Moxley from other places apparently. Cool, fine, whatever. If he does work his way into being a part of the AEW show, then also cool. Like, let's see what they can do with him. He's not the youngest dude out there, but I mean, Jericho was on the show tonight, so I don't know what to tell you. Between Wednesday and tonight, it was their goal, and it was said multiple times by multiple people, to cut a pay-per-view in half and give half of it to you on Wednesday and half of it to you tonight. Obviously, their headlines went on Wednesday, their one-on-one matchups and all that sort of thing. Tonight was several pile of people chaos matches in a row. And that's awesome. Think about the amount of people that wrestled tonight. You had Punk, you had Hobbs, you had all the members of the Hardy Family Office, the Lucha Brothers, Santana and Ortiz, the entire SUPERKLIQ, Jurassic Express, Christian Cage, the current Impact champion, representing Impact just a little bit in there. The women had their match, and then all the guys came back out. You told 2 stories with 2 factions that are questionable at best. You set up your title match between Miro and Sammy with a little bit of physicality between the 2 of them, and then basically you had 5 guys kicking the shit out of each other in the main event in a dark match. Like, you got more bodies onto this show. I mean, nothing's really going to touch Ruby Soho versus Britt Baker and Daniel Bryan versus Kenny Omega from Wednesday. And I think smartly they weren't trying to do that either. They were trying to give you the headline stuff here and the, hey, you know what, this is kind of cool too stuff here. And I think that works. And I think if that's the purpose that Rampage is going to serve, then I think that's awesome. You leave Dynamite as the flagship, you have Rampage as the excess, and the excess can still be good. I don't think too many 2-hour Friday night shows that end at midnight are gonna maintain an audience. I would love to see, especially with the spoilers out there as they were. I would love to see what the numbers are on this show. I'll tell you for free. I didn't even watch SmackDown tonight. I came home from work. I had a bit of a sleep because I knew I was going to be talking to you guys, or I was going to be talking to you guys and Guapo. I wasn't sure, so I'm probably going to edit the hell out of this while I catch up on what happened on SmackDown, because I have no idea. At some point, I'm going to come back up here and talk to you guys about Extreme Rules if I get around to it. There's some other cool stuff I want to talk to you guys about too, and that might come out either this weekend or next weekend. I'm not sure yet. Just depends how things go, and seeing as I haven't done a single since I'm doing a lot less singular videos, I will say, if you're enjoying this, if you enjoy what I do, if you want to find me in an audio platform, go to any audio platform you can find, search Spaz Phoenix Podcast. If you're listening to the audio right now and you want to go the other way and you want to find this on YouTube, go to YouTube and search Spaz Phoenix. If you want to find me on Twitter, get me at Spaz Phoenix and at Spaz Phoenix 1, Spaz Phoenix as well on Instagram, the Spaz Phoenix Podcast Facebook group, obviously on Facebook, and wherever you are, leave a comment, leave a rating, leave a like, all those types of things, and show some love to my co-hosts, to Guapo_504, to Jake at Countdown Ended, to Kristen, who does the TV and movie stuff with me. Go show her some love as well, at Black Cat Feline. Don't know when the next TV and movies type thing is going to be coming out, so I won't advertise what I don't know. I haven't come up here and done the promotional bit in a while, so there's that. I'm very tired. I'm going to stop this episode now. I'm going to turn off the camera. I'm going to end this podcast because I'm tired and I have nothing else to ramble about. So yeah, go bug Guapo and tell him how shit I am when I don't have a co-host. I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, I'm tagging out, guys. Bye.